Welcome. Thank you for joining us today for Amaxra's Tech Talk. Today we're going to be talking about data visualization with Power BI. My name's Thane Belknap, and I'm a project manager here at Amaxra. I'm excited to be talking with you today about what I believe will be one of the most important topics of the next decade. Let's dive in. I always like to ask business owners what their biggest asset is for their business. I almost always get the typical replies of people, intellectual property, real estate, equipment, or something similar. But what about data? Few business owners consider data one of their business assets. I would argue that not only is it a business asset, it is one of your biggest sources of untapped potential for your business. In the past, it was challenging to collect the data needed for good data analysis. But in today's hyper-digital world, data is being created and tracked everywhere. Tapping into that data can help you streamline and make better business decisions. It can even provide insights into trends that you may not even know about. Using data in modern business has a multitude of benefits. Data analysis, or data science, is a broad topic. The possibilities are endless with enough data. Everything from predictive analytics to artificial intelligence is achieved through data science. And while these are both great tools for any business, I want to focus today on data visualization. Humans are amazing at seeing and recognizing patterns quickly. Many businesses aren't using their data simply because it's in an unfriendly form. Here's an example of what I mean. Many of us are used to seeing Excel spreadsheets that look something like this. Now, if I were to ask you which month had the highest sales, how quickly can you find that answer? Now, if we show the data graphically and ask the same question, you can very quickly identify that December is the month with the highest sales. We can also see that international sales were mostly flat with a dip in August. Was that dip clear in the spreadsheet above? This is the power of data visualization. We can quickly see trends, make decisions, and identify potential opportunities by looking at visual representations of the data versus raw data on a spreadsheet. This leads me into the next hurdle that most business owners believe that they have. That is, they feel that they do not have any data. When we think about data collection, we often think of Big Brother and those companies that are collecting private data to know everything about us. That isn't always the case, though. Data can come from many sources, and I can almost guarantee that you have some data in your company right now that could benefit from some simple visualization. Websites, online forums, financial software, point of sale systems, customer relationship management, and enterprise resource planning tools, even Excel documents are all sources of data that can be visualized. You might have an Excel file that your HR or finance team update regularly. Using that file as the base to provide a visualization of employees or financials to your leadership teams is a great boost to the business. Power BI is Microsoft's business intelligence tool. It's designed to provide visual analysis of your company's data. Power BI has a web app, an iOS and Android app, and a Windows desktop application. It's included in Office 365 E5 plans, or it can be added on to your existing Office 365 for $10 per user per month. This provides a low-cost solution for the ability to visualize your data. It also provides access to those visuals on the go. A sales manager or executive can review trends and KPIs from their phone on their commute to work. This leaves them better prepared for the meeting when they arrive. Less time is spent looking at the data, and more time is spent finding ways to improve, streamline, and grow the business. Let's take a quick look at Power BI. So this is Power BI. What we're looking at right now is the desktop application form of Power BI. There's also the web application form. Typically, when I'm editing a report or a dashboard, I'll do it through the desktop version just because there's more capability and more function there. A quick kind of overview of the program. So across the top, we have the ribbon, just like what we would typically expect and find in Microsoft Office programs. In the center, we have the working area, so same as Office programs where you do most of your work in the center. At the bottom, we have tabs, just like what we would see in Excel. As we move across from left to right, we have filters that allow us to filter the data that's being shown to us on the page. Some filters can be applied to just this page, or some can be applied to all pages. The next step over is visualizations. This is where we can go to choose what visualization we want to create or put on our report. And then the last section over is our field. And so our field section is where all of the data that's been connected to Power BI is going to live and exist. Looking at the data in Power BI, it looks very similar whether it's here in Power BI Desktop or whether it's on the web version. So in Power BI Desktop, we can see that our graphics are all showing here. So we can see all of these charts that are talking about our new hire data. One of the benefits that I really enjoy about being able to visually see my data this way through Power BI is that this data isn't just a static view. I'm able to quickly click if I want to see just the male data for my new hires, or I can click and see female data for my new hires. If you click again, it's going to reset your filters so that they're all showing as 0. But you can quickly do that with basically anything across the board. So if I wanted to look at Group A, ethnicity, in the central region, I can click on that, and now it's going to filter all of the rest of my graphics to show for the data that's based on what I'm currently filtered on. This means that your executives and your leadership team are able to quickly dive deeper into the data. So as they look at the main dashboard or as they look at the report, they start to formulate questions. Well, what about this? Well, what about this specific group? And they're able to quickly click and modify the filters that allow them to see the data in the way that they want to see it. One of the other benefits is that by hovering over information, you can see details about it. So I can see that our new hires by gender, I have 9,778 males, which makes up about 52.3% of the total new hire group. It's great to be able to get specific numbers by pointing and holding your mouse over these particular areas. The next thing that I want to look at then is exploring the data model. So before you can create your graphs, before you can kind of develop your visuals that you're going to use and share, you have to be able to get the data into Power BI. So this is typically the most challenging part of Power BI is cleaning up that data and bringing it into the system in a way that's friendly and you're able to use it. This is where I really enjoy Power BI Desktop more than the Power BI Online. Online is great for simple dashboards, maybe things that were where the data set is coming from an Excel spreadsheet. But when I'm looking at pulling data in from multiple sources, or if I'm pulling data in from more complex sources like a SQL database, I want to do that through Power BI Desktop. So some of the options that you have for getting data is you can pull, and we'll pull up the more list here so you can see everything. But you can essentially pull data from Excel, you can pull it from text or CSV files, XML, JSON, PDFs, SharePoint folders, Access databases, SQL databases. There's tons of areas where you can pull information from in here. You can get it out of IBM, Oracle, you can get it out of your Dynamics databases. Tons of opportunities here to be able to connect Power BI directly to a data source and then query that information and run updates on that information so that it's not a static report, but instead you're actually getting data that's continually updating itself and continuing to show new things and have a closer look at real-time data. Once you get that data connected, you're able to come over here onto the left-hand side, and we can look at the data model. So in this case, we see that we're looking at essentially a star method, for those of you that are familiar with database architecture. And we have all of our information flowing into a single table here, our employee table, which is where we're essentially pulling our transactional data from. And so this is where essentially you can create your relationships between your different tables is here in your data model section of Power BI. You're able to set up one-to-many relationships, many-to-many, or any other relationships that are as needed for you. The other option that we have here in Power BI Desktop is that we can explore the data itself. So I can click into here, and now I'm actually looking at something that would look more familiar to what you would see in Excel, which is where we're actually looking at the data as it's been imported into Power BI. And we can scroll through and choose different tables and different data sets to look at the data in each one. We can also add things like calculated columns or measures in order to be able to do some data analytics within Power BI itself. After we've gotten the data into Power BI, we can now go and we can start to create new graphs and we can start to visualize that data. So just as a quick example, we're going to come back here to our graphs, and we're going to go down here and create a new tab. So across the bottom, just like in Excel, we'll create a new tab, which opens up a new page for us. Now, I want to show pay type, so salaried versus hourly, and gender. So how many males and females are salaried versus how many are hourly. So we're going to start off. I'm just going to check these options because these are the ones that I want to pull in. And we can see that Power BI has started to create a table for me. I have 2 hourly and I have 2 salaried options, male and female for each one. We can then come up to our visualizations. And so I want this to be a 100% stacked column chart. And so we're going to go ahead and click on that. And we see that it changes. So it's no longer a table, but instead it's looking pretty blank. So we're going to expand that out. And as we come over here and we look in our visualizations, we can see that my access is pay type, my legend is gender, and my value is blank. So I need to give it something to base its value off of. So I'm going to expand my employee column, and I'm going to pull all of my active employees. I'm going to put that value right down here. So I'll drag and drop. And so then we can see that it now updates my 100% stacked bar chart. And I can now see that I have almost 2,000 salaried females, and I have a little over 1,600 salaried males. Same for hourly. We can see how that distribution works. If I wanted to change this graph, so let's say instead of a 100% stacked bar chart, I just want it to be a regular bar chart, we can come back over here to the visualizations page, and then we can just select stacked column chart, and it's going to automatically update that for us. So we can see that we have a lot more hourly employees than we do salaried employees. Now, in that same visualizations pane, we have the ability to format. And so if we click on that, we can then see that we can change things like the data colors. So if I wanted to change this to be a specific color, you can certainly do that. And you can modify these to be whichever colors that you'd like them to be to kind of create the dashboard and have it look the way that you want it to look. You can also do things like change your data labels, add titles, add background colors, change your visual headers, and a lot more through this formatting tab. And then we can come back to filters. And so this is where we can set a filter on a specific visual. So if I wanted this visual to only show males, which in this case, it would kind of defeat the purpose of the visual, but just for an example, I can drop this down and I can say only show males. And so now this particular graphic, because I'm filtering on the visual, is only going to show for males. You can make it so that this is a hidden filter, which means that your users who aren't able to edit the dashboard or the report, they won't be able to change that filter. Or you can leave it as an open filter, which means that they'll be able to adjust and change that filter as needed. So that's kind of a quick look at Power BI desktop and how you can use it to bring in your data, as well as how you can use it to model some of that data. Data visualization is a really important concept, and it makes it so much easier for all of your users to be able to quickly see the information and to really have important conversations about the trends and about the strategy versus having to have conversations about getting the reports, finding the information, and then trying to do analysis on that. Power BI is capable of running updates. So for example, we have one that's connected to our dynamic system, and it runs updates 4 times a day. So that means at any time throughout the day, we're no more than a couple hours old on our data. It gives us the ability to have closer to real-time data, which means that as business decisions are being made, they're being made in a real-time sense with data that is accurate and up to date. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to technology@amaxra.com. We're happy to help you dive into any questions that you have specifically about Power BI or more broad questions about how you might be able to use Power BI and data in general in your business to streamline and improve efficiencies. Thank you so much for joining me today. As always, if you want to receive notifications about future talks or provide any feedback or suggest a topic on future talks, please follow the associated bit.ly links there. Join the Amaxra Tech Talk or Amaxra Tech Talk feedback. Thank you again for joining. I hope you were able to learn something interesting and new about data analytics and how it might be applicable to your business. I look forward to talking to you next month. Thanks.